Mill on our 3 maps here in this best of 3 format. Zero going to be the first ban coming away from SANDBOX. Interesting, because that was a pick they were pioneering for quite a while in APAC at the start of last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's more information utility as we discussed, but Zero, also has a good few options on the utility lineup as well.
Yep.
So, there's certainly reasons there for that.
I was just looking back at the stats as well for NIP to see how often they played this operator, and yep, it is there for the vast majority of rounds. Yep. Probably about 65-70% of the rounds they have played that op, so a target ban coming in. The Jackal coming away just screams to me, right, let's get out there and cause some chaos on the defensive side. Still sticking with the Valkyrie ban that we've seen banned away throughout all 3 maps, that Intel game being denied away, which leaves SANDBOX with this 4th and final ban ace.
Final defender will come through in just a second. Also, they're having a little bit of a think about it, using that full-time allotment before locking in who will be our final ban. Jackal is going to be an interesting one. We've got Maestro as the final defensive ban there, so again the utility just being taken away in terms of the information. Jackal's always an interesting one on Bank because it's really going to open up that roam game potentially defensively. Nomad we could see a little bit of play just to try and cut off the flanks, but ultimately I would expect to see defenders now getting out into the map and just really trying to make things difficult. And it's interesting that it was NIP that have chosen that ban. I think we're going to see Psycho, Pino, Muzi, that triple just getting out there trying to really make life difficult for SANDBOX. So we're going to be heading in towards round number 1. It's going to be NIP starting us off on the attack. They're going to be attacking onto the top floor here, and nothing too unusual in terms of the lineups.
No, we're seeing the Vigil coming out, which is exciting because it means roam game, in much the same way that I thought we'd see that coming out of NIP on their defensive side, given the Jackal ban. I'm glad that we're seeing SANDBOX also leaning into that. So for Static being that entry man will be one of the first to contest. You've got Charl and Envy getting out on the roam as well. My only difficulty with this site, and it has always been the weakness and the frustration amongst pros in the scene, is the window play. Those windows are so ridiculously powerful up on the north side that's what you'll be looking out for. Keep a close eye on what control you get, and knowing that it's an APAC team on the defense, any jump outs or crazy hijinks that you see coming in to try and disrupt that play.
Going to have Invitational just setting up the deployable shield. We see this one quite commonly just outside of stock now. It's going to allow the challenge on both angles from the player who eventually sets themselves up, whether that be Invitational or not. Interestingly, a second blade on the door as well, so the swing could come from 2 places. You're going to have Shio more than likely looking over stock windows, able to challenge up towards Janitor, but then a player inside of Janitor who could swing out behind that deployable shield. So very difficult here for NIP to play into from the square skylight.
Another spicy little stat for you there, Ace. 100% of attacking rounds SANDBOX have played Jackal so far in their history on this map. So you can see why the ban has come through, not just to enable NIP to play a bit more freely, but also because, again, it's a key part of SANDBOX's attack. But think back to the Flores on Cafe. It didn't phase them at all having that taken away. I'm keen to see how it shapes up here. Static again, the main entry man that I keep on talking about, goes down to Kamikaze. A little bit different to see the backline support player being the one that gets the entry kill onto the entry, but here we are.
You're in LATAM now, Des. These support players, they will come in and find frags as well. You'd better believe it. Static taken out on the Vigil, and that is going to be a big starter for NIP. Vigil, of course, one of those really tricky operators. If he's in and around the map, especially with somebody like Jackal unavailable, can be very difficult to track down. Ooh, we just see a Yokai drone taken out in front of us there as well. Going well so far for NIP. Not halfway into the round. They've got a Yokai drone gone. They've got a Vigil gone. They're starting to get the map control that they need to control square skylight and think about getting the walls breached, and they're making good time in doing it.
Psycho sat downstairs around open air at the minute, I think waiting for someone to step into Janitor. He's got the nades on side, of course, to make good use of. Both of them still in back pocket and could provide a pretty good threat. But what we need NIP to do first, is the trigger to that, is to force Charl away from these shields, playing on the long kind of like, it's not quite 90, do you want to call it 45? Either way, playing on the corner shield just outside of stock, that's what you want to force away. In fact, one nade gets eaten up on the south side, just heard that trigger go off from the ADS. Second one comes in and Charl has already stepped away towards vending machine. Nova going down, that's the Yokai's lost and the Vigil gone.
Invitational does manage to follow the same path as Nova, but won't lose his life in doing so. But it just shows how well NIP are controlling this site and the windows, making it very, very difficult. Envy trying to find some sort of challenge out there, but unable to so far. Harper is in an important position here. They need to deal with him and deal with him there, Charles, as Psycho moves in underneath, recognising that key position, takes the man down off the balcony, and that now opens them up to think about getting the diffuser in and getting it down on the ground.
This is feeling a lot like Clubhouse at the minute, Tim, where NIP's attack is ferocious. Psycho almost going down. Kamikaze too, but both escaping with a slither of HP. Envy also on a slither will find Kamikaze out. Charles another, but it's a 1 versus 3 for Envy, and I can't see him walking out with a 4K. He finds another as the clock starts running down. Envy's on the below, going to work his way up through the front lobby here. Julio waits him at the top of the stairs to the right, has no idea, and it's a closeout in round 1 for NIP.
Big first round from them, and I like NIP there, how they just managed to pick that defence apart. It was like they just dealt with one player at a time. It started with the Vigil and it just moved through the Echo, the man on the balcony. It was just one after another being dropped one at a time, and I like that from NIP, just dealing with matters in succession as they needed to get themselves the round. So that's going to be them heading into round 2 with a strong start now. Let's not forget they've just had a great performance on Clubhouse. They move into Bank, they take the first round on attack, and they can start pushing forward from there. SANDBOX, it's time to start finding some rounds before this gets away from you.
It is indeed. We already saw how that happened on Clubhouse when it went down to a 6-1, and it was like, cool, you get 2 rounds, but the damage has already been done. It's a little bit too late for any kind of magical comeback to really come into effect. But I'll give him a small lean. That first sight, as we mentioned, not quite the best. Now we step down into open area, which I would wager has become arguably the most popular site on this map. A lot of teams actually opting to start here and play it more often than not, or wherever it's available they will step into it, because you have that idea of, okay, they've got to take top floor, then they've got to start looking at the downstairs as well. You can think of it as being quite a lot like attacking into Reading on Cafe, where you have to clear top floor, bar and cocktail, and then worry about the site below it as well. So it adds a few more steps for the attackers to have to work out and figure out, but equally as the defenders, you then have more ground to hold and defend and challenge, for example, so it does require a little bit more coordination.
Moosey's just managed to squirrel himself away a drone inside a site there. It's not been picked up and could be dangerous in the late round, particularly if we go towards a stock hatch drop, which is a potential option for NIP here, just to get straight underneath that hatch and try and get the diffuser down. Now Shio all the way down in the basement on the Oryx for the time being. Anybody bringing an Oryx along is generally doing so because they want to be mobile inside of the round, so he's certainly one to keep an eye on over the next minute or two. He's going to be heading up to the top floor and just try and make it difficult for NIP, I think, to get themselves inside of the map here.
See what damage Charles can do on the Oryx as well. Not a pick that we see all that often, but these days you tend to see it paired up with a Thunderbird, because of course the downside to Oryx is using his ability to charge through a wall will inflict some damage on you. It's free to use in terms of the amount of health you lose if you're using it just to move quite quickly, which some players will use it for. And of course, the hatch hopping ability is very valuable if you're trying to roam later into the round. But the consideration is if you lose HP, that can be the difference between life or death in a gunfight, so the Thunderbird helps offset that quite a lot. Here, at least for the side of SANDBOX, they're not bringing a Thunderbird, it's just the Oryx in isolation, so you're probably going to see Charles just sat around the elevators and looking to work his way up and down hatches as he goes, rather than worrying about opening up any walls for his team.
NIP have got top floor control gained now, so that's step 1 completed. They can start opening up the angles with Pino on the sledge, which is what they will do. Now it's about moving defenders around inside his site, but also clearing utility as well. Clearing yourself a path towards that final execution. That's what they're going to be looking for. Interestingly, SANDBOX have dropped at least one, I think, back down to the basement, so we'll see how they factor later in the round. I'm not sure if they've maybe made their way back up. It was the Oryx that looked like he was heading in that direction. Invitational nearly getting himself caught out inside of Tellers there. They're aware of his position. He's likely going to be held in place. He tries to get himself back to the fight, but he can't quite make it as Pino just predicts the rotation there and gets the kill for the entry onto Invitational.
Again, it's Clubhouse all over again. NIP are just really good at isolating these roamers and forcing a 2 or a 3 versus 1. They keep up this kind of habit, they are going to roll their way through this game the same way Psycho has just bowled through Static and Shile. 2 more kills in the round, a 5 versus 2, making a 4 versus 1 as Moosey picks up a TK. There is nothing going SANDBOX's way in this round. It looks to be a 2-0. Call it a flawless round if you
find a way to compete. They've got to find a way to get in there and make life difficult for NIP. I'd like to see in this round, they're going down to the basement. Let's have a nice commitment to the roam. Let's get out there. Let's not fall back as soon as you push. Let's try and take some gunfights and see if they can get something started.
I was just looking at the attacker win rates and the defensive win rates for both teams as well. NIP actually have a much better attacking win rate on this map of 63% to their 48% defensive win rate. They're not the best defenders on this map, kind of what we saw on Cafe, so maybe we'll see a blend of Cafe and Club sneaking in. And for those of you out there that love things like this, the attacking win rate for SANDBOX is 38.5%. Their defensive win rate,
oh dear,
bang on 69%.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Nice.
So we're not quite seeing...
Nice.
Stop raising your eyebrows at me, Des. Stop it.
Nice.
Stop it. We're not seeing the stats being followed for SANDBOX. They're not able to show that same defensive performance that they have done. Like I said,
if they win these next 4, it stays true. They'll be at about 66%. 66.66%.
we're not seeing SANDBOX able to hold on to that defensive win rate that we've seen them do before. Honestly, it is extremely unlikely that they come back and win 4 rounds here and turn this around to be a positive half for them. We would expect NIP to be picking up at least half. NIP, if they get 4, by their stats, they're going to be more than happy with that. That should be able to see out the game for them. Psycho, I love this. He's on the knock. He's got down there. He's just waiting to push into garage. He's checking if there's anybody ahead of him, and this could be absolutely devastating.
I know exactly what pun you and I are waiting to make here if it really comes to life. He is in, but sound alarms, both of them as well to cover either side. Really, really smart, but knock, knock, she's at the front door. Sadly, no one's there to answer. They're backed away, kept themselves safe, but at least SANDBOX know now what it is Psycho's trying to achieve.
They do. They, again, majority of operators are being forced back towards that bottom floor, but we do still have Shayol and Envy active out in the map, and I want to see them stay that way. Make it difficult for NIP. Don't let them get that vertical control. We've got Harper on blue stairs as well. So NIP not picking apart this defense quite as quickly as they have done previously. There you go. That's what we wanted. Envy Taylor comes in with a big nitro on Tapino, takes the opener for SANDBOX, and that's that roam game, Des. That's that aggression that I wanted them to keep. Keep yourself active out in the map. Don't let NIP settle in. Moosey's going to find Shayol. 4v4. Envy Taylor's all alone on the roam now.
Oh, surely that should have been a kill coming in onto Psycho as well. Had a good half a second of looking at him, but didn't pull the trigger. Psycho likely going to back away here and look to go for an alternative angle of attack. Now, slowly seeing that drone count whittle down. Just 3 left here with still half the round to play. It's not an ideal situation for NIP. We're going to have to just try and make this work blind, and sadly going in blind is the worst idea. Envy finding Julio out. It's a 4 versus 3 for SANDBOX, and finally, we might start to see some life being breathed into the APAC team.
A better, stronger commitment to the roam, certainly paying dividends at the minute, but Psycho, he manages to get in and find Static and Nova, and that leaves a difficult position now. There's 1 man left alive on site for SANDBOX versus the 3 of NIP. There's an opportunity here. If they seek it, if they find it, if they take it quickly, they could get themselves into sight here and pressure Harper. He's going to be caught out on the blue stairs as the hatch has opened. It's going to be difficult for him to rotate back, so that effectively leaves nobody on site here. But SANDBOX, they've got Envy Taylor just trying to work on the flank. Harper's going to lose his life as soon as he moves out of that staircase, you can guarantee it. But Envy Taylor somehow has managed to get himself back down towards site, Des. But Psycho, he knows he's holding him. As soon as he steps out, Psycho's going to find that kill. He knows his man is there. He can't find the shots, but there they come. That's going to be Envy Taylor shut down, and this is all but over for SANDBOX in round 3.
They should have known about this one, but Harper's coming back in on a slither of HP. He's got to land a couple of big shots here because he's against 3. Finds 1 head. Can he find the next as well? Plant is going down. Now we're back into a 2 versus 1. They've got about 40 seconds to work with here, and again, Harper is 1 bullet from death. This is Siege on hard mode. This is where it gets tough against the defending world champions to swing this round back. One's hit the deck, and he's got to swing his way through, runs straight into a nade from Psycho, who tore them asunder in that round.
It's all dead to Psycho.
It was, and the scariest thing is they knew he was there. Twice they had the same spot where he was looking at the left door that leads up main stairs, but they didn't shoot him. They didn't pull the trigger and get the kill. He's got away with it twice. He's ran away from playing on ramp to come back to ramp later on and get 2 kills. He was just an absolute terror, and SANDBOX had no idea how to deal with him.
I feel for Envy Taylor in that round, because if you're coming into it, I said, let's have a better commitment to the roam, SANDBOX, and that's exactly what Envy Taylor delivered. He got himself 2 kills, he was mobile around the map, he was making life difficult, and then the players back on site couldn't deal with Psycho pushing in, and that was a big problem, because when those couple of kills come in, you've got your Ella stuck on blue stairs, Envy Taylor has no choice but to rotate back down, and it just changes the dynamic of the round. It flips it on its head. It was a pivotal moment, and and it's unfortunate for SANDBOX because I felt like they got the first half of the round, I won't say completely right, but a lot better than they have done so far.
Well, on the bank, merry-go-round, we step into the fourth and final site. Tellers and Archives going to be where we go for round number 4. So rather than returning up towards CEO and Lounge, it's going to be the slight step away, which maybe suggests that first round was a bit of a debate coming out from the side of SANDBOX, just thinking, you know what, we know it's not the best side, but we'll play it and see if we can catch you off guard. NIP not shaken at all so far. 3 rounds on the board, and mostly in convincing fashion as well. For SANDBOX, you can feel it start to slip away, but let's not forget that on Cafe, they found themselves down 3-1 at one point and still managed to swing things back. NIP's defensive record on this map, not quite the best.
Round number 4 underway then. Hatch and FaZe, we're still in a lot of droning going on. We're just going to be trying to find the location of those roamers. As I say, NIP not played into this site so far on the attack, so they just need to feel out the SANDBOX defense, see exactly what's set up. But look at that from Muzi Des. He's got himself right into electrical very, very quickly, which gives a direct line of sight into site, and so he could make their lives a misery here if he just holds that and prevents any rotations in and around site. He's been challenged. He just sees the tail end. Oh! Muzi with an absolute beauty onto Harper. That was a worldie of a shot as the man moves across and he just sprays him down and takes his head off, and that allows access into open area. But Static slams the door in Psycho's face, and that levels us up at 4 versus 4.
And he drops to the basement as well. It's his turn on the Oryx here, getting himself out and about around the map and looking to cause some chaos. Muzi's inside of open area, pushing his way forwards, looking in towards Bleepers, but also towards Archives. So trying to make sure this south side is as safe as can be. Would have seen that Yokai a second ago, but didn't quite have the reaction time to pull the trigger and get it shot out. Would have been painful for Nova, who so far in this game is 0-3, but still providing value in way of information.
Invitational is still out on the roam along with Shayol. As I said, I wanted more commitment to those top floor areas, and they're certainly trying to deliver it here, SANDBOX, and it does seem to be slowing down NIP a little bit, but somehow Kamikaze's managed to work his way underneath that square skylight. He's looking to push in towards site. He's being supported from open area as well. Static, however, is going to find one. Can he find 2? Yes, 2 for free as Kamikaze is downed as well. Static's not going to take the risk in trying to chase that kill. He's going to move himself away, but the threat of those blue stairs is surely going to be too much for Kamikaze to be picked up, and Nova it is ultimately that finds that one.
You'll be asking questions about, for the dead members of NIP, I know there's only one at the time, why look at operators and not at drones, because they would have seen him on the flank drone as well, coming up blue, and strikes a deadly blow towards NIP, bringing down 2 members and leaving us in a 4 versus 2. However, SANDBOX have been not strictly the best at converting big advantages like this. There is still every possibility that we can see them come out on top on the other side. That is NIP, but they lose another man. Pino's in a 1 versus 4. He has no kills to his name so far on this map. I'm not really a betting man, Tim, but I'd say this one's going towards the side of SANDBOX.
Yeah, I would have said the same. There you go. Static steps up and detects a kill. Ultimately, Des, we've got to call it as we see it, and that was unforgivable from NIP on the flank. There's a drone set up at the bottom of the stairs. There's a player who is dead at that point. You gotta have that covered. You can't allow somebody up those blue stairs to be hitting you for 2 kills like that. It was a big mistake.
It was. You can allow it. They've had 3 great...
Played very well so far, but the thing is, they're playing against a SANDBOX team that aren't the best that they're going to come up against. So you got to iron it out now.
That's always the fun of international competition.
Got to iron it out now.
Maybe SANDBOX turned out to be one of the best here, and we just have underrated them coming into it. You never know.
Heading into round number 5, Des, it's going to be 3-1 to NIP right now. SANDBOX have certainly had the moments, I will give you that. At times they've looked a little bit out of the depth as well in some of these gunfights and in the way that they've controlled the maps, or sort of, failed to control the maps. So SANDBOX, they're going to have a little bit of work to do, but let's not forget, as you said, they've started Siege on hard mode here today. They're coming up against the reigning world champions, an aggressive team in NIP that are going to go looking for kills. It was never going to be an easy start for SANDBOX. It's certainly not over yet, but NIP have got themselves a good advantage, and I throw back to that stat that you gave us earlier, Des. It's an important one to remember, and that is SANDBOX have got a poor attacking win rate on this map, and they are racing towards their attacking half. and it looks like they're going to be behind. So they're going to have to overturn the odds. They're going to have to overturn those historical stats in order to get the win here. It's not going to be easy for them.
No, but then is it SI if it was meant to be easy? Absolutely not. Here we come with the top floor start then for NIP. We've seen them be very, very comfortable getting control of the CEO Lounge area so far. It hasn't looked uncomfortable for them at any stretch or any point in the journey of the last 4 rounds or so. So they can get control here and start getting themselves a ground start, and they can start smashing the roof open. They can force those roamers back onto site and then look towards closing things out forwards from there.
Pino just sweeping across the top floor. Drone's ahead of him, so again, fairly aggressive entry coming in from NIP, but we've seen this sort of pauses every now and again as they come in, and they just have to wait for those few seconds while the information is fed in. Static takes advantage of those few seconds to find a kill onto Julio, who was just playing up on the skylight, I believe, there. So that's going to be the first, and that is a good start for SANDBOX. They need to double down now. They need to keep the pressure on. Don't let NIP settle.
Oh, do find one back, which is great, because if it stayed at a 5 versus 4 and SANDBOX get back to site, again, Clubhouse vibes just ring through on the one round where it was a 4 versus 5. And it gets a little bit easier for SANDBOX from that point forwards. Balancing's back out into a 4 versus 4. Things aren't too bad, and making it a 4 versus 3 is only one step better. Down goes Harper, the Ella removed, who would have been playing around blue stairs a little later point in the round, most likely. And they should be able to get control of this ground floor. Still a couple of roamers here, actually. They've got to be very careful. See the head, but can't quite click it. Shyle down to half HP.
Muzi just keeps gunning on that angle, still will not find Shyle, takes a lot of damage off him, but we find ourselves now 3 versus 3. SANDBOX have got control of site for the time being, but there is now an opportunity. As we can see, they've all been pushed back downstairs, they've all been pushed onto that west side, so NIP can think about getting themselves down into server, establish. They've got Kamikaze, they've got the ability to open the wall, they can't play the hatch that they would want to necessarily, but they have plenty to work with here, NIP. They've got the time for the time being, Des, but they need to get moving.
They do. And this is where we saw a bit of a flank come in last time round, if you remember. The man that did it, Harper, is dead in this round, so it's definitely not... Sorry, Charlotte was. He's still alive, but won't be able to get inside a service, given he is 1 on half HP, and 2, there is more drone work coming in from NIP, but time starts to concern me a bit. Bouncing it off of the bomb there, almost finding Charles, but does read the situation, gets out of dodge and keeps himself alive.
27 seconds, NIP trying to just maneuver a position here, and that is going to help them massively as Muzi finds a big kill onto Shyle Nova, just trying to deny from distance, but won't be able to find the angle that he needs.
Oh,
Pino on the cover with a beautiful kill through to the garage. 3 versus 1 now. Diffuser down on the ground as Kamikaze got the plant. It's all up to Static, shut down by Muzi, and that's going to be another attacking round to NIP.
Muzi and Pino, what do you have for breakfast today? I'd love to know, because, God, those shots. First time kill every single time with the bullets coming in from range. SANDBOX just did not stand a chance there. I don't even think he would have had the read on the swing coming out from Shyle, but connects a wonderful shot, which removes the pressure inside of red, and then steps forward from there, gets the plant down. All too easy for NIP. They sit at 4 on 1, and again, remembering how the stats shape up for NIP on defense, this is looking really good for them to get a 3rd map win.
Certainly is. We're going to be heading back up to the top floor for our final defense from SANDBOX here. It was the first round that we saw them take the top floor. They haven't tried again since, as NIP were able to, for my money, probably the most systematically that we've seen them today pick the defense apart. It was just 1 kill at a time. It was just identify a location and then go in and find that kill. They did it with surgical precision, and it left SANDBOX reeling. It left them not wanting to come back to this top floor, but that is where their final hope stands in this defensive half if they want anything better than a 5-1.
Here's that classic castle setup. Interesting to put the castle barricade onto that window. You don't always really see that. It tends to be on these more curved ones that give you the angles in towards the window repels on the front of bank, for example. Nades coming in from ATMs. So a little bit different in terms of the setup, but it does make the area quite secure. So with that one battened up, the window inside the site itself done, is looking pretty good. I think you touched on it in the last map as well. Like, castle now having 4 barricades does make for some really interesting setups.
It does. It's just changed the dynamic of the operator a little bit, because we just see a little bit more variation. You know, it's maybe less of a decision now of this window or that window. Do both. And you've just got that little bit of spare utility. Pino straight away making absolutely no bones about getting up onto these windows. Just checking his drone there. I just didn't know if he was going to catch it on the laser gate or not, but keeps it alive for the time being.
On the what, Tim?
To do so. On the laser gate, Des. It was the... I was waiting for that. It was the first one of Invitational 2022. No doubt the first of many, I would expect.
Sorry, man. I'm getting hard of hearing these days. You have to repeat yourself sometimes.
That's your age, Des.
It is, mate. It is. Let's see how things go, though. They're getting the...
Oh, here we go, here we go!
Smoke's coming, Candela's coming, everything comes in, but Static finds himself a kill. Great shot from Psycho onto Envy, but then they come behind the cover of smoke here as well. Plant going down, Harper finds one back on the other side, but surely they know. There's the angle, Static finds it. Psycho shuts out, and for NIP, this attack looks to have fallen apart at the dying moment.
You sort of got to give it to them. The 4-1 open, they just think, you know, let's give it a go, let's roll the dice, let's have the rush in and see what we can do. Moves his way around to stock. He's just trying to pressure from an alternative angle here. Him and Julio left trying to pick up the pieces of that failed rush. It was sort of close, you think, in some ways, but Kamikaze was shut down. Psycho went in after a great kill, but they were just too aware of exactly what was happening inside of sight, and it was well locked down by SANDBOX. Julio, no option but to repel, shut down as he tries to do so. 1 versus 3. It's all up to Muzi now. He's going to have to find himself an ace, I think, inside of the round.
Static's having a field day this map.
Oh no, Psycho got one.
This and Cafe has been phenomenal for Static. Clubhouse a little bit less so. A lot of it came down to the nade kill. So things are looking up for the entry player for the side of SANDBOX, putting on a great show, even when Charles and Envy might not be up there with him just yet. It's still not really gotten the scoreline they want, but at least a 4-2 half is going to give them something to play off of going into the second. My concern again being their attacking stats aren't all that good. He's got 3 fights to win here. He will find one. The next one being blocked out ever so slightly, but then revealed by a small hole in the wall that Static will close out into a 4K in the round. It's 2 kills at the half, sorry, 2 rounds at the half for SANDBOX.
I think in some ways, you know, SANDBOX can feel quite fortunate there. There was definitely, you know, the opportunity for NIP to win more rounds. If this rush goes differently, you know, they really would have been over very quickly. But I like that SANDBOX were ready for it. They were prepared. You know, they thought that it could be an opportunity, it could be a chance there. In come the Ings, they didn't react badly to it, so it was nice to see from SANDBOX able to get themselves a second. But as I say, their defensive record certainly suggested they might have had a better first half. Their attacking record does not suggest that this will improve in the second half. Only a 39% win rate on attack here on Bank for SANDBOX. They're going to have to overturn it, because right now they need to bump that up from 39 to at least 66%.
Yep. For SANDBOX there, that nice 69% win rate on the defense obviously comes down after a pretty dismal first half. For NIP there, 63.2% attacking win rate goes up ever so slightly, so not a bad show. It's the defensive win rate now that's going to be the issue. About a 50% one so far, 48.6 to be precise. A performance like that will be enough to get them over the finish line and win this map in regulation. So SANDBOX are the ones that you turn to and say, it's time to do something special. And I was going to say, is Julio putting a can trap on either side of the door? I think he was going to for a second, then was like, no, bad shout. Double sack, please.
We do see the can traps have more of an impact now. Obviously, they can be put multiple traps on one door frame rather than the single that you used to be limited to. You would still expect teams at this sort of level to be finding them when they're droning out. It's all part of that process, and they really should be aware of what is ahead of them. But we have seen it catch people out a number of times. Quite often, you'll take the shot onto one and just move through, and nope, there's still more there.
Yep.
Psycho just going to take a couple of little pot shots at people on the rappel. He's going to be pushed here.
Oh!
What a shutdown from Envy Taylor. That is exactly what SANDBOX needed to kick this off. A big entry there from Psycho. Sorry, onto Psycho from Envy Taylor. That's the 1-eye down, and that is NIP on the back foot in round 7.
And a key man to bring down. Him or Muzi are the two that you're looking for, given their delivery so far on this map. Static finding Pino. This is a wonderful start for SANDBOX, and it's that age-old story of don't judge a game until you've seen the second half, because that side swap can completely change how things play out. It's not a round 1 just yet, but they are 5 versus 3, which is a considerable advantage.
Muzi just trying to hold on to open area for the time being, prevent use of the hatches. Julio going to take a ton of damage and be shut down by Envy. Somehow Muzi manages to find 2 while barely moving his feet, but Nova ultimately from the window gets in and gets the shutdown. It's all up to Kamikaze, the hard support left inside of sight. He's on the Warden. but it's not going to be an easy finish from here.
He had 1-1vx at Sweden. It's a hard stat to try and get on the board sometimes, especially in 1 versus 3s. But this would be a beautiful time for Kamikaze to net a result like that. Nova inside of open area, Envy off on main stairs, and they're still getting on the drones here and taking things slowly. Because why panic? You've still got half a round to play with, lads. Don't worry about speeding things up. If nothing else, slow it down. Find the man, get the plant down, whatever it is you got to do. This one should be a SANDBOX round win, and then it goes to 4 and 3. That's when things get spicy.
Well, that's it. You look at this and you think somehow SANDBOX have kept themselves in touch once again, even when NIP were running strong, were 4-1 up. Are we going to see a repeat of Cafe here, Des? Let's not forget, this is map 3. This is the one to decide who takes the majority of the points. Kamikaze ripping the head off Envy Taylor's shoulders on the main stairs there. 45 seconds left to go. It's 1 versus 2. We see the Warden using that ability to see through the smoke, but no, Nova, he sees right through the game plan and he shuts the man down as he peeks around the stairs. That's going to close it out. SANDBOX 4-3, somehow just 1 round behind.
Onto Muzi inside of open area. Again, a brilliant 3v1 setup coming in. Yes, Muzi found 2 kills off the back of it, but it was a good bit of team play coming in from the side of SANDBOX. Muzi caught reloading and dead from there. Same with the closing kill coming out to Kamikaze. 1 coming up through ramp, 1 coming down main stairs. You can't look in both places at once, and sure enough, SANDBOX get the shutout. For both teams, again, I'll give it to them. The trade play has been fantastic in that game. We've seen this missing at a number of international events, and especially in league-based play, but it's all really starting to come together now. These teams are getting on LAN.
Going to be heading up to CEO. It's going to be a top floor hold for NIP as they decide not to double down in the basement. They don't want to take the chances of being picked apart again. And I like that on SANDBOX's first attack, they basically did the same to NIP as NIP did on their first attack, which was they just went in there and they picked them apart one at a time. They were unfortunate to lose a couple of men to Muzi, but let's be honest, any team in the world can suffer that fate when he is finding shots like he is today. 13 and 4 in this map. He's absolutely going off at the minute, and SANDBOX need to continue to find a way to shut him down, and throwing bodies at him will not be it.
No, but Static is keeping almost pacing him as well. A couple of kills behind, sat on 11. So again, the player that I commented on saying not quite one of the strongest entries in the world is definitely putting on a show against some of the world's best here in NIP. It's a good sign for what's to come for SANDBOX throughout this competition. Even when Charles currently being sat on 1 and 5 is not the kind of delivery that you're hoping for. Setting up then here inside of the white corridor, you can see them with the Kanto walls reinforced off, a shield in front of it, plus a shield facing off up towards square. So definitely a hold out in the corridor being the main game plan here for NIP, and for SANDBOX their focus will be breaking that one open and getting control of the corridor.
Muzi, keep an eye on him. He's just roaming underneath at the minute. He's in open area. He's on the Wamai. I think he's possibly been drawn out by Nova there, so SANDBOX may well be aware of his position, but the question is always how do you deal with them, especially when he's got Pino supporting him with the Vector of Goyo as well. It is definitely something that they need to deal with underneath. Of course, Pino with Nitro in hand as well, so he's not going to move unless he's forced. Shayo already stacking up in position to potentially start doing that. He's going to be sending the Twitch drone in, just looking for any utility that needs clearing out, as well as operators.
Really looking for, I believe, the Wamai Magnets and the Yokais here as well. Get them off the board and you can start eating those nades into open air and hoping to find a man. See the head pop up, a great shot from Static. And it's the 2 players. Have you broke your leg there and watching that, Ace? You look a little bit unstable, mate. So at NIP, Shyle finds another. And these two, Static and Muzi, are just going blow for blow at each other.
Static did not only sit Muzi down there, he sat me down as well with it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. What an unbelievable reflex shot coming in from Static. 5 versus 3. And once again, SANDBOX have woken up and they are absolutely starting to cut through NIP right now. This looks easy for them, and the way that the momentum in this game, Des, has just shifted from one team to the other has been unreal. It's as if they just completely drop off the face of the earth and then they come back and they're the best team in the world. It's amazing.
It's crazy how low HP Kamikaze is. I thought Static would find him with a nade from below. It wasn't quite the case, but it's found by Nova. Wasn't Nova? Who found him and where from? I'm not sure what's put him down there, but he is down nonetheless, which leaves Julio in a 1 versus 5. He's going through smoke and they see him coming out. Okay, it was a nade from Envy. Great vertical play, because we commented on this earlier on, you know. You don't get too many chances on bank to make use of nades from below unless you are attacking into CEO. The one round that they are defending CEO, you've got Static, you've got Envy making great use of nades from below to dish out some damage and get another round on the board. That's 2 back-to-back for SANDBOX. We're at 4-4, and NIP plus NIP fans are going to be...
From watching NIP over the years,
they warm into a tournament.
I've watched a lot of NIP. It's not necessarily about best of 1 or best of 3 for them. NIP historically are very good at hitting form at the right time. They'll struggle through, and then they'll hit form when it really counts, and all of a sudden look unbeatable in the last 3 games. You know, it's all well and good, let's be honest. It's the flip reverse of what we saw from BDS in Sweden. So BDS came out in the group stage just looking fantastic, winning games left, right and centre. First 2 days, they looked unbeatable, and it just sort of petered out, and they didn't do anything really in the knockout phases. And it is sometimes just about finding that form at the right time, and NIP do historically seem to be a team that are very good at managing that within tournaments. But one way or another, it would be a surprise result here to have SANDBOX. I don't think there will be too many. Dev may have predicted SANDBOX because he loves to predict it.
There was a few. I think Milos did as well.
But it's not going to be many that have sort of stood behind the social vote that we had. If you want to get involved in the social votes, please do. It gives us a good indication of the leaning of the fans as well. 65% were in favour of NIP coming into this one. So, you know, we know that SANDBOX can do it. Question is, will they?
I guess the thing is, don't forget as well, the APAC fans are awake this late in the day for them, early in the morning for us. LATAM probably still snoozing at this point. I wouldn't blame them either as well. It'd be silly o'clock in the morning for most to be awake. But for those of you that have got up early to watch NIP start off their tournament, I hope you're enjoying the series so far, and hopefully for you it comes out strong. But for the APAC fans, we all know what they're after. We've had a bit of a rush coming in here. Has this been smashed through? Nova, the support, finds 2 kills and is planting. Muzi finds 1, Pino another. They've had to stop the plant attempt from coming through here to turn around and point guns in the right direction. They're looking for Pino. He's sat inside the admin office. A great shot from Muzi once again. Someone stop this man. He is nuclear. But a nade comes through from Static. A 2 versus 1. Entry and support against the main man on NIP in this map. Can he win it out for the boys?
Muzi is on the hunt at the minute. He's just moving through into open area. I don't think he knows exactly where the man is, but he knows there's somebody in there with him. Out goes the Nitro. It finds the kill desk.
Oh, these two in a 1v1.
It's Muzi versus Static. Static has the advantage based on hit points. There's still 1 minute 40 left to go, Des. There's an absolute age here. Muzi's going to rotate himself underneath. Possibly gets picked up on a drone there. He's moving around. He's moving very quickly here. He must be reasonably confident of the location of Static. He doesn't want to get caught in that sprint animation now. Static's going to take the opportunity to get the diffuser down. I think Muzi hears it, and as the challenge comes forward, Static... Muzi misses his shots! Uncharacteristically for him so far! He sprays him down. He takes some hit points. It's now 50 health left nearly for Static. He's him.
He saw the head!
Muzi!
Oh, no! What is that? How is he doing that?
Muzi has had 2 clear opportunities to shut the man down there. You can see it on his face, Des. He knows that round should have been NIP's. If this game goes to SANDBOX, that is the moment you're going to look back at. Static, I'm sorry to say this, he didn't win that fight. Muzi lost it.
He's a dead man walking. He won the 3rd one. But if that was rock, paper, scissors...
You shouldn't be getting to the 3rd one.
No.
Des, he had a full view of the side of Static. He had a clear view of the side of him.
That's the Roni as well, having such a small clip to play behind. I'm pretty sure he's using the Roni. Such a small clip to play behind that he had no choice but to take that first fight, veer away to the left, get the reload in, and then come back for a second bash. Iana's white hair has just saved Static's life there. If that was any other operator with a black helmet on, he pulls the trigger there and gets the kill. Unbelievable. It shouldn't me and you were just like...
It shouldn't... I'm sorry, Muzi, I am. It shouldn't have been there, though. He saw the side of... You know, it wasn't seeing 2 pixels of a head. He had the entire side to go at. We all miss our shots. It happens. I'm not piling on Muzi. He's going to wake up sweating thinking about that one, I'm sure, especially if this map doesn't go their way. But...
It wasn't even a pixel shot, that's the thing. He was in full view.
That's what I mean. It was
not
like
looking
aiming at a barn
him.
door. It was like...
Can't miss.
You really can't miss that. But 5 versus 4, SANDBOX Gaming, they have managed somehow to muscle round 9 away from NIP, and they've got themselves the advantage, Des. They are winning here on the final map of our best of 3. 2 more rounds, SANDBOX. 2 more rounds.
He's done 3 in a row. What's 2 more on the attacking side of back? That's all it's going to come down to. But let's see how it shapes up. Once again, that castle is stepping in for NIP. Clearly very big fans of it, has used it in most rounds. This has happened twice now. It wasn't Muzi who got caught out last time. I'm pretty sure it was Psycho. But Envious came in through that same window twice and killed a player in the same position twice.
Honestly, NIP looked shook the last couple of rounds. It just looked like things are getting away from them. They're trying to hold down open area again. They're losing men to begin with. Envy's just opening up the top floor now. He's looking to get those angles. The nades are going to start raining in. Pino needs to be careful. Backs away. Manages to survive. Psycho's taken a little chip of damage along the way as well. SANDBOX have got total top floor control, and honestly, I feel like they've got control of Bank. I feel like they've got control of this best of 3 right now, Des.
Merzalon and the keys to the vault at this point. They've found another kill in the round. Charlotte up on square, catches Pino trying to work his way up on square stairs. Now the drone work can begin. You can pause out here. We're not even halfway into the round, or we're just about to be, but you've still got so much time to play with. And again, you know that you just had a fight against the guy on these stairs. Yes, he died to Charles from behind, but he saw Nova at the top, and Psycho runs into it. The communication is clearly breaking down for NIP, as is the game and the hope of winning this best of 3.
Julio just looking to hold on to that double door for the time being, but the pressure is just constant from SANDBOX here. The drones are going in. They're finding his location. They're giving that information back to the team. Kamikaze, he's coming here on the blue stairs. Flank, it was something that SANDBOX managed to use previously, but Shiles somehow gets a kill onto Julio. I don't know why he aggresses there when Kamikaze is coming on the flank. He just tries to take a bit of attention, but he didn't need to show himself to Shiles. And that's going to be another round for SANDBOX, and they've got the opportunity, Des. They've got map point, match point, series point. It's everything right now.
This has been a total turn of the tape for NIP, where their attacks have been good. Their defenses is where they have fell apart. We first saw it on Cafe. We're seeing it again here. SANDBOX are 1 round away from bringing down the defending world champions. We have said about this whole defending world champion thing so many times over. It just goes to show nothing is guaranteed.
The thing is, I've spoken about quality within Siege, and, you know, we often talk about, or we get asked a lot about, you know, will there be another dynasty? You know, will it be this sort of... And honestly, I think there could be, but I think it looks different to what we expect. We come from days where G2 won everything when they were at their peak. That does not exist anymore. For me, I've said being consistently the best team in the world at the minute probably looks like winning 2 of the big events over the year. If you win the Invitational and a Major, that, with the level of quality that we now see in these teams that you're being fielded up against, that for me is being dominant.
The only real dynasty that exists these days is the LATAM one, though. It's different.
Yeah, if you look towards a region over the last year, they have, you know, definitely dominated.
Yeah, we had NIP, we had Team One, we had FaZe. Many were coining NIP to come in and win this one again. Imagine if Fury upend things and win this as well. It would just be a total LATAM stomp around the world, all over and over. Though, there's still a lot more tournament to play. Let's see how things go. We're looking at least for a small attack into the top floor here. It's not where the site is, but there is a mirror on this top floor. I spoke already. Envy Taylor, now the 3rd time, is at this window, waiting for someone to run across. No one has moved yet, but I do not want to see another NIP player getting caught out from that angle.
The thing is now, SANDBOX's tails are up. They're excited. They can smell that blood in the water as they're ready to go. You can just feel it as they're pushing in, getting aggressive, holding the angles, trying to find those openers. Like you say, NIP, they cannot give it away. They have to be finding themselves a man advantage to begin with. Psycho looking to see if he can find one out of the elevator. He can't. He's going to drop away and get himself back towards site. Muzi's playing in the open area again, which he had some success from last time, picking up a double kill. He's got Pino there for support for the time being.
Last time round, they actually had the wall going in from top of our mid-main stairs up in towards front desk. That was opened up, so they had support for anyone trying to push up downstairs. Here, of course, with the site being downstairs, you're not expecting someone to come into garage, work the way up main stairs and hit Muzi from behind. He doesn't need that cover, so they can play a little bit more aggressively elsewhere in the map, which is arguably why you're seeing that mirror, or did see it, up on the top floor, because Muzi isn't worried about his backside. He's just focused on what's going on in front of him, out towards the east. Static, though, the hero of the map, arguably the day so far for the side of SANDBOX, is smelling blood. He knows Kamikaze's lurking. He's even going to have a drone in front of his face as well. A little bit of a nervous flex coming in from Kamikaze as he pulls the trigger on that first shot. Grenade singing in, going to go for the swing and dies out. What an entry play again from Static, doing it basically all by himself.
Absolutely beautiful from Static there. Dealt with the utility with the Gon 6, burnt a Wamai Magnet as well with a nade, and then bounces it off. What a great understanding of exactly what was ahead of him.
The article!
Throwing it away, Psycho! He goes into the bottom of blue and gets shut down by Nova, and that now leaves us in a 5 versus 3. Nova can get the wall open and start thinking about getting a plant down.
That Gemini did enough to make him nervous. He didn't go for the man, he didn't go for the clone. It's a 5 versus 2. Julio finds one back, but in comes the plant. Surely a C4 comes singing through here. No, interrupted by the Yokais. 2 versus 4. Harper coming in on the backside, finds one. They've closed it out. SANDBOX have beaten the defending world champions in the opening game of the 6th Invitational.
Well, for anybody who thought that SANDBOX might be one of our weaker teams here in Sweden, you better take another look, because they've just taken down one of the giants of LATAM. They've given themselves already a great start towards qualifying.